The idea behind the cloth and dampening the surfaces obviously is to give us more of an open time when we're applying the gloss system. It makes the gloss also go on slightly easier. Prior to application as well, we always recommend that the actual tools of application are actually dampened down. This just helps the actual paint adhere to the bristles a lot better. We also recommend as well that the actual roller is actually dampened. This just helps the actual paint adhere to it, and it helps in pickup of the product onto the roller. The next step is to load the roller with the material. So what we're doing now is we're actually loading the paint onto the roller, making sure that we get a nice even amount on. We don't want that much on that it's dripping everywhere. So we need to load it, making sure that we've got plenty on, and then we're ready now for applying onto the 6-panel door. Like I said, we're using a medium pile roller. What we're trying to do now is get this paint into all the areas on this particular door. Obviously what I'm trying to do here is get the paint into all these areas and mouldings and getting it as even as possible. I'm now going to load up some more paint. It's important that you try to roll it into the actual mouldings on the door and try to get it as even as possible. What we don't want is a build-up of paint within the moulds. What we're going to do now is we're going to lay off the paint using a good quality synthetic brush. The reason why we lay off obviously is to eliminate any texture on the doors. And what you actually do when you lay off, you're always laying off in the direction of the grain. Otherwise you'll get an uneven finish. Making sure that you work your brush into the mouldings. And just using the tips of the actual bristles to take out the texture. Obviously there may be an instance where you get a run or a teardrop in the corner of the panel, and what we recommend to actually do there is just to leave it just before it starts to dry, and then if you get a lint-free cloth or a synthetic brush, a small synthetic brush, you can dip the actual brush or the cloth into the water and just take the teardrop out, and it will actually blend in. What you can't do with acrylic paints is keep going back into it, because if you do, what will happen is the paint will cheese up slightly or roll back on itself. Right, the top section of the door is finished. What we're going to do now is we're going to do the bottom section. Again, we've loaded the roller up, making sure that we get into the mouldings, paying particular attention to getting it as even as possible, especially in the moulded areas, because if we don't, we can actually get runs or a build-up of paint. The idea behind using the roller is the fact that we can get it on much quicker and a lot easier. Techniques have changed slightly now over the years with the use of acrylic paints. It's not the same animal as a solvent-based system, and therefore what we've got to do with the water-based is make sure that we get it on as quickly as possible, and we found that the roller is the best way of doing that. Making sure that we lay off in the direction of the grain to eliminate any texture. And as you can see from that, it is quite quick to apply, and it does leave a rather nice, elegant finish. There you can see the finish from the 6-panel door. Obviously, if we're painting architrave or skirting boards, we will recommend that you put slightly more on of the acrylic system than you would with the normal solvent-based paint. The reason being is it does tend to flow out a little bit better, and you'll also find as well that you can only work in smaller sections with the acrylic system. The reason being is because the acrylic dries a lot quicker. Obviously you must work in them small sections, and we would say probably a metre long on a skirting board. Do a metre, lay it off, move on to your next metre and lay that off. Don't be going back into the first section, because obviously that will have started to dry. So it's all about doing like bite-sized chunks. A metre, lay it off, move into your next metre and lay that off, and so on and so forth.